Hey guys, so today I'm going to be checking out something requested by the Refurbished Spaghetti Western. This is a continuation of a series I'm watching with a few other people. Number one being Archo.
Hello.
Then you have the Icey.
Hello.
Then you have Deamon.
Heyo!
And unfortunately today we have the purveyor of feet picks, Strider.
I triumphed in
That
return.
is quite unfortunate.
What was that?
He has a
It's
cough.
me coughing.
That was you dying, okay? That was not a cough, that was death incarnate.
You looked at one too many feet picks. It's
Monkey feet has finally infected him.
He has athlete's foot of the lungs.
yes, warp-induced some nurdle. So,
Yes.
I'm not a Death Guard Nurgle. You can't have the 4th Legion.
Okay, so today we're going to be checking out Spartan-III Augmentations. Me and Archo watched Spartan-II Augmentations recently, and we're going onwards to Spartan-III Augmentations. This is the most detailed breakdown. It is done by Installation00. And after the last one, I really began to understand why they hated Halsey so much. So, yeah, we're going to jump into this.
Hatred of Halsey was mostly the public.
Yeah, well, once you find out how many kids she kidnapped and the experiments done on them, at that point she's a real easy scapegoat, even though Oni was primarily responsible for most of the stuff that wound up happening and gave them carte blanche to do it. But anyhow...
There were going to be 150 Spartan-IIs, but then...
I mean, if you really think about it, the scale of the experiment is not crazy. Like,
Yeah.
It could have been worse.
Alright, so, as in the last video on Spartan-II Augmentation, this one comes with a warning. It says it contains in-depth and graphic footage, images, and exploration of various highly invasive surgical procedures. Viewer discretion is advised. So, if this kind of stuff bothers you, don't watch this. Because, yeah, the last time we saw somebody's skull getting ripped off. In a very clinical manner. Alright, ready? Here we go.
Warning. This video contains in-depth and graphic footage, images, and exploration of various highly invasive surgical procedures. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yes.
Boss, I have the perfect thing you can use for the ending of this vid.
No.
Welcome back to Installation00 and the most detailed video series.
I'm
The
sending it to
various
you
classes
anyway.
of Spartans all received augmentations to forge them into the super soldiers they are widely known to be. The Orion candidates, the Spartan-IIs, the Spartan-IIIs, and the Spartan-IVs have augmentations which are wholly unique to each class and the particular operational requirements of their generation. So, in extension to our previous most detailed on the Spartan-II augmentations, today we will look at the augmentations, alterations, and enhancements that the Spartan-IIIs had in order to become worthy of the title of Spartan. Project Chrysanthemum was the codename given to the biological augmentation procedures performed on the Spartan-III super soldiers. They represent a significant improvement over the augmentations used in the previous Spartan-II program, retaining the procedure's effectiveness but being safer and less invasive to perform.
Yay.
The bio-augmentation set improved upon the augmentations of the Spartan-II program, pioneered by Dr. Catherine Halsey. With advances in technology, the casualty rate of the Spartan-III candidates was usually 0% as opposed to the 56% casualty rate of the Spartan-IIs.
That's
Most
usually a
of the
good thing.
Spartan-III's augmentations were chemically induced instead of surgically implanted like many of the Spartan-II enhancements. The genetic requirements of the Spartan-III candidates were loosened from the exceedingly strict criteria of the Spartan-II program, although the range of compatible individuals still remained incredibly narrow, with any aberrations from the required genetic set geometrically increasing the failure rates. Colonel James Atkinson, the mastermind of the Spartan-III program, requested to have mandatory genetic screening put in place in the outer colonies in order to find more genetic matches for his program. But the Office of Naval Intelligence leadership felt this would only provoke the colonists for further aggression against the UNSC. As a result of the more lenient selection criteria, the Spartan-III candidate pool was less physically and psychologically consistent, with a higher likelihood of behavioural problems. Many of the Spartan-III candidates were more lively and predisposed for aggression than the Spartan-IIs. While the chrysanthemum augmentation still had to be administered at the onset of puberty, as the bodies of either prepubescents or adults would reject the chemicals, Colonel Atkinson's age restriction protocol for the Spartan-III program was considerably looser than that of the Spartan-II's. The Spartan-III's candidates' ages, upon induction, typically ranged from 4 to 6 years old, with the nominal ages of some of them, such as Carter A259, exhibiting more extreme deviation from the standard age range. The schedule of the Spartan-III program was accelerated from that of the Spartan-II's because the Office of Naval Intelligence wanted to have the Spartans deployed in the field as rapidly as possible. The Spartan-III's were augmented at an average age of 12, whereas the Spartan-II's were 14 during their augmentations. As puberty had not yet started for the majority of the candidates at this time, they were given human growth hormone as well as cartilage, muscle and bone supplements added into their food over several months to artificially induce the onset of puberty. As a result, the candidates had the bodies of near-adult Olympic athletes at an average of only 12 years of age, and it took some time for them to acclimatise to their larger physiques. This advanced preparation supplanted the need for the catalytic thyroid implant used in the Spartan-II's, as the addition of HGH and specifically tailored nutritional supplements led to early onset puberty and the required skeletal and muscle growth far in advance of the actual augmentation sets. The disclosed chemical augmentations used for the Spartan-III's thoroughly enhanced the Spartan-III candidates to super soldier levels. However, the quoted augmentations also appear to only be half of the story. In similar fashion to the Spartan-II programs, there are likely several additional supporting augmentations that would have to take place in order for the primary quoted augmentations to actually work effectively. As such, when such instances occur, I will make note of them and make adjustments accordingly.
Okay, so basically this was how they just sped up production of them.
Yes, as I elaborated in the last light review, the Spartan-III program was entirely about quantity over quality, in that they needed good cannon fodder really quickly.
Yeah.
In light of that, they essentially widened the genetic net for candidates, and instead of kidnapping children from their families, they instead, quote-unquote...
I miss the orphan.
Yeah. They scooped up orphans that were left behind from the results of the war and gave them a choice, revenge on the Covenant or get dropped off on Earth or some shit.
Yes, they were all mini Batmans.
Yay. Mini Batmen are happy. No, they're not.
942-LQ99, otherwise known to be the carbide ceramic ossification catalyst drug, is the first of the 4 primary chemical augmentations given to the...
It's like this guy right here just continuously looks like he's ready to run. He's just waiting for somebody else to go with him because he doesn't want to be alone. Like, seriously, every single time I see something about this guy's just looking back at me like, I don't want to be here.
This is this is the last place I want to be.
It's like, hold on a second, let me see if I can rewind.
You said I can choose to avenge my family or go to Earth? Can I still go to Earth?
They said there'd be tacos, and I don't see a taco bar. I just see, no.
Primary chemical augmentations given to the Spartan-III's. The idea was to make the skeletons of the Spartans virtually unbreakable, allowing survival of harder impacts. The issue therein is that the drug was quoted as being a catalyst. The very word catalyst implies that it was either a substance that increased the rate of a secondary chemical reaction without itself undergoing any permanent chemical change, or that it effectively acted as a primer that precipitated another process altogether. This is the first instance we encounter a problem with the quoted Spartan-III augmentations, but I am in a position to offer 2 well-reasoned and law-abiding means that the end result was still achieved with this chemical. The first being that the chemical itself was designed to travel to the skeleton and bond at the molecular scale with the bone marrow, osteoclasts, osteoblasts and oligodendrocytes, basically reprogramming them to use a carbide ceramic, likely titanium carbide, as the fundamental compound used for creating new bone material, as opposed to the calcium collagen matrix which is naturally used. During simple day-to-day movement, the skeleton undergoes stress caused by simply moving under the force of the muscles within an environment of 1g of gravity. This causes microscopic stress fractures which are rapidly repaired by your own biological processes, keeping your bones tough and hardened against your environment. The aim with this technique would be to use this very process at an accelerated rate to lay down a matrix of titanium carbide and collagen, thereby molecularly strengthening the bones on the cellular level. The trick thereafter being to introduce colloidal titanium carbide into the Spartan's biology, likely through dietary ingestion. This would feed the cells responsible for laying down new bone material all the raw materials they need to gradually make the bones harder over time. We already observe a very similar process in medicine today. If a person takes a strontium supplement, the body doesn't differentiate between strontium and calcium due to them being very closely related, both being alkaline earth metals and chemical congeners to each other. The treatment is known to be used for people with osteoporosis, as it adds skeletal density, making fractures much less common. But in completely healthy adults, the strontium is assimilated in making new bone material, resulting in denser, though not necessarily stronger, bones. Although this appears to be the most logical explanation as to why this chemical is being quoted as a catalyst, the results of an augmentation like this are a gradual onset of a stronger skeletal frame, as the bones naturally go through a new augmented process of laying down significantly harder and denser bone material than they'd be naturally capable of. It appears, however, that the Spartan-IIIs have significantly harder skeletons practically upon being revived from the augmentation procedures. This leads me to believe that this particular drug is in fact a chemical that precipitates another process altogether, priming the bones for what is to come. Due to the Spartan-III's apparent lack of surgical scars seen in the Spartan-IIs, it is suggested that the carbide ceramic ossification augmentation is not the process that the catalytic drug is priming the bones for, so that rules out the surgical option. Instead, I think, in similar fashion to the aforementioned process of the body utilizing strontium instead of calcium, a colloidal carbide ossification chemical is injected into the body as close to the bone as is plausible to get, to place this colloidal chemical in close proximity to the bones. Then a chemical process takes place due to the presence of the catalytic drug, whereby the bones rapidly uptake the colloidal carbide ossification chemical and assimilate it into the molecular structure of the bone, very rapidly reinforcing the skeleton to a much harder and denser state, while shedding or converting the calcium matrix into a chemical byproduct, completing the catalytic process. This would explain why the Spartan-IIIs exhibit significantly stronger bones without the surgical scars of the Spartan-IIs.
He just said a lot there. And I mean a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's just a trick on biology, and that's all they did.
Yeah, chemical was some sort of primer or catalyst for inducing denser, stronger bones, and then probably dietary and or chemical supplements to encourage the making of said stronger bones.
So these things, so the Spartan-IIIs, in terms of durability, as far as like skeletal structure, were in no way comparable to the twos. Like, this doesn't sound like this would make them in any way, shape, or form comparable to the twos in terms of just
They
durability. They are?
They are very, very close. See, the difference here would be the fact of the Spartan-IIs had the surgical external cage on their bones added. This is simply bypassing the cage necessary and reinforcing the bone structure itself, replacing the underlying calcium, which is the weak point, with a stronger substance.
Okay.
So they don't have the external cage and the underlying bone. They just have the catalyzed, replaced bone.
Okay.
Could be worse.
And
it could be like Kyle from Resident Evil 1.
And because it's a chemical process where they have tricked the body into using a different material rather than calcium, so long as they can require it dietarily, this is actually a more sustainable one long-term in a field where it could actually, the body could repair and recover itself.
Oh, okay.
Without external surgical facilities.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. A little bit less durability, but a lot more utility. Okay, I can work with that.
But while also preserving the need for the catalytic drug in the first place. 88005-MX77, or the fibroid muscular protein complex drug, is administered to greatly increase the density of an individual's muscles,
steroids,
greatly enhancing physical strength. An assessment of the terminology used in the description of the drug reveals the mechanism behind how this particular drug achieves the desired results. Fibroids are non-cancerous growths that are made up of muscle and fibrous tissue. In normal medical instances, they are undesirable and have to be monitored periodically or even have medical intervention to treat or remove. It is evident that this drug is designed to induce a similar mechanism to fibroid formation, but in a more controlled manner with the more desirable results. As explained above, fibroids are growths of muscle and fibrous tissue. The drug uses this otherwise abnormal level of tissue growth to its advantage by inducing the formation of muscle tissue on skeletal muscles in a highly moderated way, while also providing the new growth with a sophisticated protein complex to fully facilitate the muscular growth. It is likely it also achieves this via moderation of the body's myostatin levels. Myostatin, or GDF8, is a protein released by the body's myocytes that inhibit myogenesis, thereby capping how large muscles can grow to. To moderate this protein, the MX77 protein complex likely makes use of follistatin, which is the inhibitor of myostatin, thereby relieving some or all of the inhibition of myogenesis and enabling muscles to grow significantly larger and more powerful. This, in tandem with the augmented use of fibroids, would undoubtedly allow Spartan-III's muscles to grow significantly larger and stronger, overall granting the Spartan's muscles nearly double the muscle fiber density of a normal unaugmented human. 88947-0.
So, was that better or worse than what the Spartan II's got?
Well, the Spartan-III's were stated by the end of their training to have the strength of 3 men.
Okay, so vastly reduced.
Yeah, by about half, as far as some estimates go.
Okay, well...
Though it's also to be considered how much of that's from the augmentation, which, yes, was less severe, but also how much of it was from the reduced genetic restrictions.
Right, and at the same time, you know, that's nothing to, even though compared to the Spartan II, it's not, that not that good, they literally returned these people to monkey because they made them as strong as a chimpanzee, which...
And you also have to take into account the fact that with the jobs they're performing 90% of the time, the difference in strength is not going to be an issue.
Right.
Not trying to fisticuffs everything anyway.
Right.
Right.
So,
If there is a deniable operations of black bag, we will shoot you if this is found out, it is going to be the 3s. They are... Everything about your existence will be denied, and we just need you to not be known.
Huh. Okay.
So, endurance and being more subtle is more useful for their parameters.
Works. All right, moving on. Go ahead.
Also cannon fodder.
Also cannon fodder. Moving on.
Yes.
P24 retina inversion stabilizer drug is yet another instance where the terminology used to describe the drug reveals it is either a primer or a supporting augmentation. In this particular case, a supporting one. In the normal human eye, and indeed in all vertebrate animals, the retina is inverted in the sense that the light-sensing cells are in the back of the retina, so the light has to pass through layers of neurons and capillaries before it reaches the rods and cones. The ganglion cells, whose axons form the optic nerve, are at the front of the retina. Therefore, the optic nerve must cross through the retina en route to the brain. In this region, there are no photoreceptors, giving rise to the blind spot. The very fact that light has to pass through other layers of tissue before reaching the photoreceptors of the eye, even if those layers are highly transmissive to light, still means there is a degree of photoabsorption that takes place, limiting the ability for humans to see in the dark. Other animals, such as felines and canines, get around this by having a tapetum lucidum layer in the eye, a highly reflective layer that allows light to be reflected within the eye, maximizing how much light falls on the photoreceptors, as opposed to being absorbed by the inner surface of the eye. While this would, at face value, appear to be the logical augmentation to factor into the Spartan's augmentation sets, in reality, the reflections within the eye caused by the lucidum also somewhat has a negative effect on visual clarity and focus in low light level environments, meaning creatures with this layer lack the otherwise crystal clarity of vision enjoyed during daylight hours. Humans would be no exception to this. So to maintain crisp focus and clarity, but also increase the amount of light that reaches the photoreceptors of the eye, the retina is inverted. This must be performed surgically, where the retina is
Another
affected.
point with the altered surgery, doing the retinal inversion rather than adding in the layer seen in dogs and cats and other animals
Right.
would be if they were outside their armor or such, because there were some plainclothes operations. Being able to be passing by, like a headlight shine on you or somebody's phone light or something, and seeing the altered lens of the eye might inhibit, being unknown.
Yeah, because I got a feeling these eyes would look a lot different.
Yes, it's just like when you see cats at night with their glowing freaking green eyes.
Lovely.
And shine. It'd be like that if you had those layers, so that's why.
POV, you're a Covenant or Insurrectionist, you shine a flashlight into the bushes. Just 5 sets of human eyes.
Yeah.
Like, awful.
What you
Yes.
did there. I see it. Moving on.
Actively reworked, placing the photoreceptors of the eye on the surface, and the veins and neural axons are between the rods and cones and the actual back of the eye. Removing the veins and nerves from the path of incoming light allows more light to reach the rods and cones, and thus results in significant improvements in night vision and colour perception. The actual aforementioned drug used in this augmentation appears to be used to simply stabilise the inversion surgery, reducing the chances of retinal detachment and thus permanent blindness post-surgery. This chemical evidently also has the side effect of altering the levels of melanin found in the iris of the eye, likely due to chemical molecular bonding lancing the melanin out of the iris. This is made evident by the colour of Carter's iris changing from brown to blue while he receives his chemical augmentations. Since the brown colour of the eyes is caused by the existence of melanin in the iris, the sudden change to blue indicates that melanin, at least in Carter's case, was broken down very rapidly, diluting his brown eyes to blue. 87556-UD61, or improved colloidal neural disunification solution drug, greatly improves the individual's reaction time, decreasing the time taken to react by 300%. A colloidal crystal is a highly ordered array of particles with diameters between 10 nanometers and 100 micrometers. It has been shown that particle packing and crystal structure in these substances is tightly controlled by particle size, chemistry, and shape. Colloidal crystals have been heavily studied because of their unique optical properties, allowing them to behave as waveguides and may enable optical computing devices. They've also been studied at length due to their properties in regards to neural networks, whereby researchers from University of California, Berkeley and Lawrence Berkeley National Lab demonstrate a method for producing three-dimensional neural networks based on templates made with colloidal crystals. This colloidal crystal chemical is injected into the candidate along with a disunification solution. The two of these reconstitutes and disunifies established neural pathways, using the colloidal crystals as guides for the layout of a new optimized neural configuration. The colloidal borosilicate spheres are coated with a poly-L lysine to promote cell adhesion and attachment, and then injected into the host, targeting the nervous system. Almost immediately, the neural structures within the host begin to bond to the borosilicate spheres. After a 3-week recovery time, the result was a 3-dimensional neural network with a realistic neuron density that could be influenced and guided to network formation by incorporating defects such as larger spheres into the colloidal crystal. The exact re-engineering of the neural pathways was likely calculated by an AI, so the massive amounts of data needed for such calculations would be checked thoroughly, as small errors introduced into the early analysis could result in massive systemic defects in the neural cohesion of the host. Truth be told, it may be directly because of this exact augmentation that the effects of the additional illegal augmentations ordered by Kurt-051 may have had even more of a pronounced effect that they would have originally had. In either case, the result of this augmentation was a complete restructured and re-engineered neural network within the host, linealizing neural pathways and thus increasing point-to-point nerve conduction velocity by reducing the distance impulses would have had to travel, while also reducing the electrochemical resistance of neural signals, allowing them to travel faster through the host nervous system. In addition to their chemically administered primary augmentations, Spartan-IIIs were subjected to a number of surgical alterations to enhance their capabilities on top of the ones we have already established would be needed, given the quoted chemical-based augmentations. Their circulatory systems were also augmented from the human baseline, likely adding to a Spartan-III's endurance and resistance to shock, as shock is defined as being a life-threatening condition that occurs when the body is not getting enough blood flow. Lack of blood flow means the cells and organs do not get enough oxygen and nutrients to function properly, so augmentations to their circulatory system likely allows the body to blood shunt from extremities to vital organs, keeping the Spartan conscious, responsive, and operationally effective for significantly longer. Like all UNSC Armed Forces personnel, the Spartan-IIIs are also implanted with a neural interface. In addition to the standard set of chemicals, Carrot 051 covertly had a set of 3 additional drugs added to the augmentations of Gamma Company in hopes of increasing their survivability in the field.
Okay. So once again, that was a lot that he went through just there. This is the first time that I'm hearing something that just, like, I've been asking so far, did this, was the Spartan-II's augmentation better? What he just went through, compared to what the Spartan-II's had done to basically their neural network, this one doesn't seem like they got nearly as much in terms of reaction time and things of that nature. It doesn't sound like they got nearly the kind of modification.
As far as I'm aware, the 300% increase in reaction speed is more or less the same between the 2s and the 3s.
Okay.
Okay, here's a notable thing with the differing process.
Okay.
Is the Spartan 2s are actually going to have a higher rate of transmission.
Okay.
Because of the fact that they actually have superconducting fibers, whereas the Spartan-III's had an even more reinforced myelin sheath around the nerves.
Right.
So what the Spartan-III's actually get is an increase in signal clarity, because there is going to be less interruption of the signal due to the body itself having higher shielding for it.
Okay. Well.
So it actually balances out, whereas the Spartan 2s are going to have the hyper-fast connection speed.
Mm-hmm.
They will have some packet loss in computer terms.
Oh,
Meanwhile, the Spartan 3s will have slightly lower connection speed, but no packet loss. So they actually equal out with the total amount of information transmitted.
Okay. All right.
And as one of the principles you might note with every company except for Gamma, almost every process done to the Spartan 3s is self-maintained by the body.
Okay.
So you can fire and forget them in enemy territory more than any other Spartan class, I'm fairly certain.
Okay.
And as Installation just said, the augmentations listed so far were done to all Spartan 3s. However, he's going to go into the secret illegal augmentations that were only given to Gamma Company, which
these were granted? I'm sorry, go on, Archo.
Thank you, Deamon, for your consideration. It's very
Spartan 3s are my enthusiasm.
Yes, indeed. The boot camp instructor and trainer of the Spartan 3s, who was the Spartan 2 Kurt 051 that I talked about in the last light review.
Right.
Alpha and Beta companies, 90% of them got slaughtered on their first assignments, as I talked about.
Lovely.
Cannon fodder, suicide mission, yeah. So after most of his kids got mulched, when Gamma Company was going through their augmentations, he decided to stack the deck in their favor, as he saw it.
Just give him a little bit of a nudge.
Yeah, a little bit, as Installation will go into.
Question, Archo. Real quick, remind me. My character for the Installation00 Halo RP here on the Old Man Reacts channel, isn't he a Spartan? Wasn't he a part of Gamma Company?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, you.
Right.
Throw a brick at Strider. Anyhow.
Check out the wonderful Halo RP hosted by Archo here on the channel.
Strider, go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. We'll let you know when they modify their fate.
I'm actually not interested in feats. I made that joke because you wouldn't acknowledge the perfectly good backpack joke I made. If you acknowledge that joke, we've been making jokes about backpacks.
Instead, you're the guy that started the feet pick meme.
I had to up the ante.
Well,
and a noted thing about these augmentations is they were illegal. They were not supposed to be a part of the program. So they were also not created with the balancing factors of harmonizing with the other augmentations intrinsically in mind from a R&D standpoint.
Lovely. Let's get into it.
All three had been outlawed by the UNSC Medical Corps in 2513. 009762-00, neural-altering non-carcinogenic mutagen, alters key regions in the individual's frontal lobe to enhance aggressive response, making the animal part of the brain more accessible in times of stress. This allows the subject access to enormous reserves of strength and endurance and enables them to remain fighting even under the influence of a wide systemic shock that would be instantly fatal to a normal human. It is surmised that this is possible by effectively removing the natural limiter that the human body has to avoid causing significant self-injury. Humans normally don't get to utilise the full strength our muscles can produce. Our skeletons are more than strong enough to handle the force our muscles can theoretically produce, but the brain restricts how hard each individual myocyte or muscle cell can pull, meaning only during hysterical strength or moments of extreme stress and adrenaline response can we use our muscles at full force. Removing this natural limitation makes a Spartan-III more sensitive to stress and adrenaline, putting them in a state where pain is no longer perceived. They exhibit hysterical strength, endurance and reaction time, but also has the knock-on effect of practically repressing higher reason centers of the brain, resulting in a blind rage, indiscriminate of friend or foe. It is reasonable to assume augmentations of the body's adenosine triphosphate response is put in place to allow the Spartan cells to uptake energy even when the body as a whole is already descending into shock. The other two chemicals administered are to offset the negative drawbacks of the neural-altering mutagen. 009127-PX or cyclodexione.
So basically, he turned them into rage monsters.
Monkey rage mode, go.
Monkey rage mode, go.
Specifically,
berserkers, if you will.
specifically when the individual is critically injured or in very, very high stress.
So basically, if it gets hit by a car, it turns into Florida Man. Got it.
Though, as is about to be covered with the other two drugs, it's not purely in those situations.
Oh.
4 is a bipolar integration drug designed to counter some of the effects of 009762-00 and 009927-DX, otherwise called misoolanzapine, which counters some of the psychological effects of 009762-00. The aforementioned mutagen, administered only to the Spartans of Gamma Company, makes the Spartans more resistant to pain and injury, with stress or pain only increasing with their physical prowess. The Gammas are almost completely immune to shock, allowing them to endure injuries and physical pain beyond Spartans of any other generation. For example, Dante G188 was able to function for some time after a number of needler rounds had blown his chest open, initially not even realising his grave injuries. As a side effect, the drug suppresses higher brain functions over time, without the regularly administered counteragents colloquially known among the Gamma Company Spartans as smoothers. The Spartan will lose their strategic judgment and become more prone to impulsive, instinct-driven behaviour. This may also occur in combat under extreme pain and stress. After both of her legs were broken, Olivia G291 engaged and destroyed an aggressor sentinel with her bare hands by forcing it to the ground and smashing it repeatedly with a rock as large as her torso.
What?
In an uncontrolled berserk rage. Fred104 noted that she could have easily indiscriminately attacked both allies and enemies in this state, and in order to immediately return her to normal, Fred was forced to strike her in the head with the butt of his rifle. The blow had enough force to knock off her helmet, and was just enough to snap her out of this state. It should be noted that life-threatening or indeed even fatal injuries do not invariably result in uncontrollable aggression, as demonstrated by the example of Dante G188, who calmly limped into safety before saluting Lieutenant Commander Ambrose and informing the commander that he had been nicked, before ultimately succumbing to the immense physical damage he had taken from the needle projectile. Olivia's case is suggested to have been the result of her using an immense pain to compound her strength and rage to the point she could no longer control herself. There are several different types of smoothers. The most common type is used during combat operations and is administered via hypodermic injection that lasts approximately 12 hours, after which its effectiveness begins to steadily decrease. Several factors such as stress and fatigue can precipitate the mental unravelling process. The first symptoms appearing within several hours of the smooth's effect wearing off include nervousness and irritability, eventually followed by paranoia, fits of temper and physical outbursts. After well over a day without a smoother injection, Mark G313 began having difficulties distinguishing friend from foe in the middle of a firefight,
Lovely.
holding a combat knife to a Marine sergeant's throat before being successfully convinced by Fred 104 that the Marine was an ally rather than an enemy infiltrator. Another significantly more expensive type of smoother is a subcutaneous insert with a longer lasting effect.
So basically, in order to combat what they did, they made drugs that actually had. They essentially don't do drugs, kids. Just don't do drugs.
More specifically, I believe these drugs, were meant to be augmented procedures in the past when they developed, but also illegal fight clubs. They gave them rumble drugs.
Lovely. Get crunk, kids. Get crunk.
Well, they can only be
Imagine
changed out
Thunder
in a
Warriors, except more mentally stable.
Seems legit.
facility. They also cannot be lost or destroyed during a mission, like the more commonly used kind. The chrysanthemum procedures took place aboard the mobile hospital ship UNSC Hopeful. Because of the Spartan-III's program secrecy, the Hopeful was stationed in interstellar space at Vice Admiral Parangoski's order for the duration of the procedures. The ship's docking cluster Bravo and the 8 decks surrounding it were entirely cleared of personnel to allow only to move in their personnel and equipment. The augmentations were administered over the course of a week. The subject was kept in a mostly sedated state throughout the process.
So basically, they'd go to sleep in September and wake in October Spartan-IIIs. Fully modified. Is that what I'm getting? Hello?
Archo?
Because I think that's what I just heard. They'd go in and they'd have all their augmentations done in the span of a week.
Yeah, no, that seems fine.
Yeah.
What the hell?
They're putting a clone afterwards and woken up.
And remember, this is happening at 12 years old.
Yeah?
So
Yeah.
No, I can see no ways that this will go wrong.
You go in as little Timmy, and you come out, and it's like, my name is Timothy.
It's like, seriously, I want to be a NASCAR driver when I grow up. They come out sounding like Corpse Husband.
Which was conducted in a large open operation room housing 400 sections separated by semi-opaque plastic curtains. Each compartment was filled with medical equipment including sterile field generator overheads, as well as vital signs monitors and a chemotherapeutic infuser. The infuser contained vials of the various chemicals, which were administered to the subject via IV and osmotic patches. The Spartans were given a number of drugs to allow them to withstand the procedures themselves and counter their potential negative effects. These include shock reducers, analgesics, anti-inflammatories, anticoagulants, and pH buffers. Despite the Spartan-III's
And keep in mind, while you're doped up like this, you have the semi-opaque barriers around you, so you can still see the shadows of shit going wrong in the other rooms.
No. Just no. No. Now, this is what I want to hear about Spartan-III performance. Let's go.
grade equipment than the Spartan-IIs, their enhancements represented a quantum leap over the previous program's bio-augmentation set. The muscular augmentations administered gave the Spartan-III the strength of 3 normal soldiers. During Operation Torpedo, Spartan-IIIs ran at nearly 30 kilometers an hour. Spartan-IIIs were also described to have been moving with speed and reflexes that no Covenant could follow. They dodged snap necks and limbs, and with captured energy swords they cut through the enemy until the field ran with rivers of gore and blue blood. The Spartans of Fireteam Foxtrot engaged 6 Kigyar in close quarters and left the aliens' bodies snapped like ragdolls. Tom, B-292, 12 years old at the time and equipped with SPI armor, engaged a Sangheili armed with a plasma pistol and an energy sword in hand-to-hand combat. The Spartan's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge a plasma pistol bolt and sword swing at point-blank range. He then
I always thought that this one right here was funny because she's punching armor. You're going fisticuffs with armor.
Angie Hungarian woman.
Yes.
proceeded to throw the Sangheili warrior to the ground and finish it off with his assault rifle. During the battle, the Sangheili and Kigyar forces moved out of cover because they realized that it was suicide to face Spartans in close quarters. Approximately 300 Spartan-IIIs faced thousands upon thousands of Covenant, including Covenant air support, and were described to have been winning the battle until 7 Covenant cruisers emerged as reinforcements. During the battle on Pegasi Delta, Most of Beta Company were roughly 12 years old. The physical abilities of any Spartan-3s who lived long enough to mature would supposedly have improved significantly, as Chief Petty Officer Mendez stated that Spartans only grew stronger and faster as their bodies grew accustomed to their augmentations. Although the carbide ceramic ossification rendered the Spartan-3's bones virtually unbreakable, they can still be broken by extreme physical trauma. This was demonstrated when Olivia G291's legs were broken in several places by a 3-meter long slab of rock falling on them. During the Onyx conflict, one of the Spartan-3s briefly fought the Mjolnir armoured Kelly 087. The Spartan-3 in question was able to momentarily hold their own against Kelly, being strong enough to twist her wrist and escape from her arm lock as well, despite wearing only semi-powered infiltration armour, which does not significantly increase the wearer's speed or strength, unlike Mjolnir. While Kelly was able to quickly defeat the Spartan-3 after, with a palm strike, she took note that she would have easily torn her opponent's arm off if he or she were unaugmented. It should be noted that the Spartan was on the move moments later. Additionally, Mark G313 was able to support and haul the weight of Fred 104, who was equipped with Mjolnir Mark 6 armour and barely conscious, meaning his dead weight weighed approximately half a ton. Mark was noted at being the best sharpshooter of his detail, which at the time consisted of Team Saber and Fred 104, who was the second best sniper among the Spartan-2s. Moreover, during Operation Jovian Whistle, Mark eliminated a Julhane warrior by paralysing it with a precise blade strike to the spine, leading Fred 104 to deem Mark's skills exceptional, even by Spartan standards. Soon after, Mark eliminated numerous Julhane warriors in close quarters combat with nothing but his combat blade. Mark then continued his attack on the enemy by killing 3 Julhane warriors before any of them realised what was happening. He also killed a dozen enemies in 6 seconds with the help of Ash G099. In 2558, Spartan G059 engaged Avu Med Telcam and 2 Sangheili commanders in close quarters combat. She eliminated the 2 Sangheili with minimal effort and proceeded to finish off Telcam with 3 kicks, a punch, and a shot from an M6H Magnum. While Vita Lopez and her ferret team were on Neos Atlantis, Mark G...
Did I just hear a ferret team?
Yeah, that's the code name they have for, like, undercover operations.
If you have to blame somebody for the name, it's Oni again.
I blame Oni for a lot.
G313 dodged a knife strike from the corner of his eye and proceeded to pick up Spencer Hume, a 309-pound or 140-kilogram man, and use him as a human shield to block knife strikes from Ota Gallo. When Hume began to resist, Mark accidentally killed him by dealing a soft punch to his chest. Later on, Mark moved so quickly that a Dark Moon Enterprise agent shot himself in the feet when Mark abruptly forced his rifle downwards. Additionally, Ash G099 killed a Dark Moon Enterprise operative with 3 rabbit punches to the man's skull. The Spartan-III's augmentations allow them to remain conscious and even function effectively while exposed to the vacuum of space for up to a minute.
Okay.
However, the Spartans will still suffer from the negative effects of exposure to space and require medical treatment directly after recovery. While on board a spacecraft, Kevin Alpha 282 walked through the forces of rapid decompression while carrying Captain Darren Leone to safety. Later on, Kevin shot the rifle out of the hands of Ryan Larson from a quarter of a mile away and successfully jogged to his location before Ryan could recover. While most Spartan-IIIs were issued with a semi-powered infiltration armour as opposed to Mjolnir for budgetary reasons, a small number of Spartan-III candidates, called Cat-2s by Kurt Ambrose, were set apart from the general population of the program by Ambrose and Franklin Mendez on the basis of possessing exceptional skill and performance, either in general or in specific fields. These Spartans were removed from the program's mainline companies, given Mjolnir armour and assigned to separate Special Forces units. Kurt regarded the Cat-2 Spartan-IIIs as being on par with the Spartan-2s in regard to sheer natural ability, though he would also later assess Gamma Company on a whole as being comprised of the finest Spartans ever. Additionally, Dr. Catherine Halsey noted how Spartan B312's hyper-lethal rating was shared by only one other Spartan, and remarked that June A266 skills as a sniper were unmatched. Spartan B312 was also noted to have single-handedly broken insurrectionist organisations and made entire militia groups disappear. As they were attempting to escape Olympic Tower on Reach, June, Emil and Carter, all wearing Mjolnir armour, ran towards a fallout bunker around 36 miles an hour. While making his last stand on Reach, Spartan B312, likewise wearing Mjolnir armour, knocked out a Sangheili general with a single elbow strike and shot him twice in the head as he was struggling to get up. He then continued to make his final effort by dealing single strikes to multiple Sangheili Ultras and Sangheili Zealots, causing them to forcibly stagger backwards, before being ultimately subdued himself. Overall, there are likely other as-of-yet unlisted augmentations that are either administered during the primary augmentation set or have since been implemented as backward-compatible augmentations as developed for the Spartan-IVs, but there are no directly referenced instances at this time. The Spartan-IIIs are their own brand of lethal, though their augmentations differ significantly from the Spartan-IIs, being of a superior quality of augmentation, the survival rate being 100% as opposed to the Spartan-IIs, coupled with the Spartan-III's near immunity to shock and ability to keep outputting lethal force long after even the toughest of Spartan-IIs would have already succumbed to shock, makes the Spartan-IIIs a particularly devastating class of Spartans. While the side effects of the illegal augmentations added in by Carrot051 makes them highly unpredictable and twitchy, even going so far as to be a threat to their fellow soldiers if not given timely dosages of smoothers, as long as this medication is administered sufficiently, the Spartan-IIIs maintain operational effectiveness on par with even the finest of UNSC soldiers. While created on a budget, the Spartan-IIIs are still hugely more expensive to produce and maintain than any other regular detachment of soldiers, but the savings made in their financial liability when compared to the Spartan-IIs have still translated to combat-effective Spartans on the battlefield, and laid the foundation for more affordable augmentation sets with 100% survivability, paving the way for the Spartan-IVs, and likely many more generations of Spartans to come. With sufficient enough time span, there will inevitably come a time when Spartan-grade augmentations will naturally permeate the human race through genetic engineering, and eventually elevate every human being in existence to the superior level of the Spartans, birthing a new human race that is stronger, faster and more resilient and more effective than we have ever been capable of. This will all be possible in the future due to the augmentation innovations made by Project Chrysanthemum and the Spartan-IIIs. Thanks for watching. Stick a comment down below. I look forward to what you have to say.
Okay, so why do you say... Okay, so from everything that he said in there, the Spartan-IIIs weren't... While they might have become cannon fodder, they weren't meant to be that.
No, they were.
Okay, then...
Okay, here's the deal.
Okay.
It's cannon fodder in comparison to Spartan-IIs. Spartan-IIs were an investment they could not make again.
Right.
They cannot replace them.
Right.
And they were the benchmark peak of performance. Spartan-IIIs could at times meet the same benchmarks, but all in all were much easier to replace and cheaper to replace in comparison to any Spartan-II. And as such, with the greater number of them, they could send them on the operations they couldn't afford to lose a Spartan-II on. Oh shit, we need to deal with this situation, however, it's almost a guarantee the soldier's going to die. We can't send one of our Spartan-IIs.
Right.
Send a Spartan-III.
So basically, you're talking about, even though they're similar in capability, like the ease of replacement is what we're really looking at here.
Yeah, like if you want a deal that's, I'm not gonna say exactly the same because they have differing ability, but
Right.
like a Warhammer equivalent, it's like sending a custody. You can't afford to lose the custody on an operation. Send in a Death Watch team. It will have a similar effect, but you can afford to replace it with your much easier.
Yeah, but the capabilities are the same, pretty much. The capabilities are going to be almost exactly the same.
They'll get the job done about as effectively, but, you know, a Spartan-II versus a Spartan-III, the two's probably going to win.
Oh, okay.
Outside of Category 2s and Gamma Company. And the Gamma Company is where it gets funky.
Yeah. Cat
And more specifically with Cat 2s, one thing to consider is some of them meet the requirement because they have the exact same genetic screening. They would have qualified as Spartan 2s.
Right.
And as such, their body took to the augmentation just as well.
Right. So basically what we're looking at here is with the Spartan 2s, it was...
Category 2s could also become Category 2 simply by proving of having sufficient talent in a select operation or skill.
Right. So basically the difference between the difference between the 2s and the 3s here comes strictly down to essentially the 2s were rare just because of the way they had to do things with them. The 3s were not. And I'm struggling to come up with a way to make I hate making analogies because I'm just trying to figure out what I'm looking at here. But the 2s were, oh god, what would I even say this? The 3s were the Ford Focus. The 2s were the first couple of Model Ts. Is that making sense?
When it comes to the survivability and level of augmentation from a technical perspective, but not necessarily capability.
Okay.
Here's another Warhammer comparison that might work. 2s, mainline Custodes in Halo equivalent. However, Category 2 Spartan-IIIs would be like Sigismund and named Marines, where it's like,
okay,
you could
Chapter Masters.
substitute them.
Chapter Masters. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the mainline Spartan-IIIs were the powerful Gene Seed warriors, but not necessarily named characters.
Right. So basically, like Bastalon from Hell's Reach, stuff like that, they would be, and then the unnames were the regular 3s. Okay, I'm getting you now.
You also have to take into perspective that a lot of the comparisons between the Spartan 3s and Spartan 2s also come from the fact that the remaining Spartan 2s are the, best Spartan 2s in comparison to log standard Spartan 3s and then your Cat 2s.
Well, I mean, not necessarily the best. I mean, quite a few Spartan 2s died just pure accidents and happenstance, to be honest.
I mean, this is fair.
So basically, it's just a situation where at the time that the Spartan 2s were rolled out, there were so few of them that, losing one was a disaster, and the Spartan 3s, they made so many of them that losing 100 of them wasn't that much of a problem.
And on top of that, the Spartan 2s, via them doing that process, they were able to learn so much from the augmentation, the way they did the training,
right,
and then from the unfortunate accidents and excelling performance in the field, they were able to take from all of that and distill it into the Spartan 3's training.
Okay.
What Spartan was Chief again?
What?
What
type of Spartan was Chief again?
Spartan
2.
Okay.
The 3s also had the benefit of having Kurt 051 as their trainer.
Which, having a trainer who can understand what exactly you're going through and the level your body can withstand,
that would have been beneficial.
Yeah, the Spartan 2s were being taught combat procedure by unaugmented people, so,
And before I see it in the comments section, there is one quote that is commonly referenced in the community, but it is also made from an unqualified individual to talk about it. And that would be the quote from Buck, I believe in Halo 5. What is said is that the Spartan 2s were like the Titans of ancient legend. They were so far above everything else. Meanwhile, Spartan 3s were the Olympian gods. The successors, but when it comes to raw capability, not quite Titans, but still beyond anything human. And then he said the Spartan 4s were like demigods, where it's just within the realm of belief. But that's coming from a special forces soldier who hasn't been he's not qualified to make that comparison to that degree.
Okay.
And people tend to wave around that quote in terms of how Spartans should stack up against Covenant species.
Right.
The point of it. The point is how the Spartan classes stack up with each other.
See, and the thing about it was, I was consistently trying to say, okay, is this better than is this? How is the Spartan 2 better than this Spartan 2? But every single turn, it's different, but it's comparable. So really, what it just breaks down to is when the Spartan 2s came out, if they were involved in something, people fucking knew about it. The Spartan-IIIs could die like dogs, but nobody would really know about it, but they could still go out there and do the shit. So the capabilities...
And propaganda-wise,
yeah,
a number of the Spartan-III's victories were attributed to the Spartan-IIs to further build their legend.
Right. So they were just basically... Yeah, okay. I got it now. All right, good. Okay.
Each last thing for you, then I apologize. And that is, in each class, they each fit a slightly different criteria. You can swap them out, but each one is going to excel more in one role. If I had a high intensity, medium length operation where I needed this done with a guarantee, I would send in a Spartan 2.
Right.
If it was a short-term operation cut off from supply, but only like a week or two long, I would send in a Spartan 4, especially if it's a hostile environment, as their augmentations better dealing with nutritional and hostile environments such as poisonous gases and other such.
Right.
But they are higher maintenance. And then for long-range operations where I have no clue how long it's going to be, it's a Spartan 3.
Okay. Well, Archo?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
Before I see any mentions of it in the comments, nowhere in the lore, and I repeat, nowhere in the lore was it ever stated that a Spartan 3 could break the bones of an elite at all, ever.
There you go.
I'm tasting salt.
I just needed... There you go.
The salinity levels are rising. Deamon,
Yeah,
anything else?
I believe I am in the clear. Anything else that comes up, I will bug you with later tonight.
Okay, Icey.
Us.
Strider. Strider, just like normal, we're going from the head to the feet here. So you're the feet. So, Icey.
Oh,
I am the back, damn it. I made back joke first.
But that doesn't matter. Icey.
Are you asking if there's anything I have to add?
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah, not in particular. It's pretty much been covered.
Cool. All right. Feet pics?
Look at thing I sent you.
Okay, fine. Let me take a look. All right. I probably won't be able to get it up on the screen.
The world would be 100% better if seals made that noise.
Okay, I'm going to try to play this and see if it goes through. Hold on.
Please work. I will be so happy.
I can't show this on the screen, but this is a seal opening its mouth and the Halo theme comes through. This is why we can't have nice things. Thank you, Strider.
The world would be 100% better if seals made that noise.
Yes, Strider, thank you. Okay.
And the final thing I can think of before my mind burns itself out is the fact that a lot of the comparisons you're going to find amongst the different classes in the lore, it's not going to be a fair comparison. Each individual has their own skills and weaknesses. Each one has differing equipment, and that's a big part of it.
Okay.
As the Spartan 4s are going to always have Generation 2 Mjolnir in the lore, and you're going to see them with those feats. Meanwhile, Spartan 2s are pretty much always going to have Generation 1 Mjolnir in their fleshed out lore, and as such, you're going to see them with those feats.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Spartan 3s, for the absolute majority of outside of Special Category 2 Spartans, they're going to have SPI armor, and that is not as advanced as either. So, before people go to the lore and start making direct comparisons, please account for that.
Armor is important. In any case, that was Spartan-III Augmentations, and it was done by Installation00. I found it to be pretty good. I of course needed the counsel of people here to tell me that I'm being an idiot for trying to compare the two. But
you can call us you can call us the Council of Chucklefucks. We understand.
Yes, the Chucklefuck Trident. Anyhow, Well, that's it for this. We're going to be moving on to Spartan-IV augmentations soon. And until then, I'm going to have all Installation00's links in the description down below, as well as my own, including Patreon if you'd like to support the channel, and a Discord where you can come in and antagonize Strider.
And make the boss's life even more miserable.
Thank you, Strider. I appreciate your assistance in these matters.
Strider will have you sort out the feat pixie Ginsen.
Stop.
No, I won't. No,
Stop.
I fucking
No,
won't. I'm
stop
not into
it.
that. I'm not into that. I have never been into that. I made that joke because no one acknowledged the first joke. If you motherfuckers just acknowledged the backpack joke, we wouldn't be in this mess.
You single-handedly destroyed the flood. You single-handedly destroyed the threat aspect of the flood, okay? Alright.
Funny, Strider, I don't know how to tell you this.
It would have been better than the feet pig joke.
No, it was...
Hello, everyone. You guys can see what goes on in the background when we're all lingering in the Trident or other voice channels.
No. In any case...
It's literally just a misery and Cocoa Puffs meme.
All I want to do... I just want peace and relaxation. In any case... I'll catch you guys next time. What is wrong with that boy? So for Archo...
Bye-bye.
Deamon...
We'll be seeing you.
Icey... He's not here. And Strider boy...
Your walls. None of you fuckers will escape me. I learned it from Deamon. He taught me
bust.
everything.
I'm still not paying rent.
Strider,
You
calm
pay
down.
me with memes,
Strider,
Deamon.
calm down. Strider,
Never.
calm down.
Never. There is no calm.
We'll
there
catch
is
you
only
guys next
madness. This is the state of the universe. Perpetual madness.
Get Wiki Feet stat!